She collapsed. Minutes after touching the human, the Yllari research dome stood in the middle of a silver desert on the planet Virion 5. Inside, everything was calm. Quiet machines hummed. Bright lights glowed softly above long tables. Scientists, both alien and human, walked around with data pads and test samples. The atmosphere was peaceful until she collapsed. Varea, a young Yllari biologist with violet eyes and glowing skin, had been working quietly at Lab Station 6. She was smart, focused, and careful never to get too close to the human guests. Her people, the Yllari, were sensitive. Their biology reacted quickly to foreign species. Physical contact with outsiders was rare and dangerous, especially humans. But today, she had dropped her scanner. It rolled under the table, close to the human standing nearby, Dr. Ellis Reeve. Visiting Earth scientist, polite, quiet, curious about Yllari genetics. He bent down to pick up the scanner, and without thinking, he handed it to her. Their fingers touched for less than 2 seconds, just 2 seconds. Varea blinked. Her breath caught in her throat. Then her eyes rolled back, and she collapsed. The lab filled with shouting. "Medic! She's not breathing! Get her away from the human!" Ellis stepped back, hands raised. His face was pale with shock. "I didn't do anything," he said. "She just touched me, but it was too late." Security guards stormed in, surrounded him, and pulled him to the ground. In the corner of the lab, 2 Yllari scientists rushed to Varea. Her body shook, her skin flickered with strange blue light, and her breathing was fast and shallow. "She's burning up," one said. "This is not normal contact response," said the other. "Her energy patterns are changing." Varea's mind spun in darkness. She saw flashes of things that didn't belong to her. Metal cities, human faces, strange stars, and one word echoed in her head. Ellis. Hours later, Ellis sat in a cold white holding room. His wrists were locked in magnetic cuffs. A tall Yllari officer stood across from him, arms folded. "What did you do to her?" the officer asked. Ellis shook his head. "Nothing. I just handed her a scanner. Our hands touched. Barely." "Yllari do not collapse from small touches," the officer growled. "Then maybe there's something else going on," Ellis said, frustrated. "Check her records. Run tests. This isn't about me." Meanwhile, in the medical wing, Varea lay unconscious. Machines beeped softly around her. A clear dome covered her body, filtering every breath she took. Dr. Rayan, the lead Yllari medical scientist, stood over her. His eyes were wide as he stared at her blood readings. "This isn't a reaction," he whispered. "It's an activation." Her DNA strands were changing. Small human-like sequences, long thought inactive, were glowing, moving, awakening. One assistant leaned in. "Are you saying she's not fully Yllari?" Dr. Rayan didn't reply. He looked at Varea's glowing pulse and quietly said, "She's something else." Back in the holding room, Ellis sat with his head down. He wasn't angry, he was worried. He had seen something in her eyes before she collapsed. Fear, yes, but also recognition, as if something inside her had known him. But how? They had just met. Hadn't. The hours passed. Then a voice came through the speaker. "Dr. Ellis, you are being released. Prepare to follow the guards to Medical Wing 2. He stood quickly. "What happened? Is she awake?" There was no answer, just the click of the door unlocking. When Ellis entered the medical wing, the first thing he saw was Varea, still pale, still lying in the bed, but now stable. Her skin glowed gently, no longer flashing. Dr. Rayan stood beside her, holding a data pad. He looked at Ellis and spoke slowly. "She's alive, but your touch triggered something deep inside her genetic code." Ellis frowned. "What do you mean?" Rayan turned the pad toward him. "These markers," he said. "They are human." Ellis stepped back, stunned. "That's not possible." Rayan stared at him. "I think it is." and as Veraya's eyes opened for the first time since the collapse, she looked directly at Ellis and whispered, "Why do I know you?" The human was blamed, but something was wrong in her blood. The medical lights buzzed softly above the bed. Veraya blinked as her eyes adjusted. Her body still felt weak, but her mind was sharp and confused. She sat up slowly and looked around. White walls, medical machines, monitors flashing data, and standing at the far corner of the room, the human Dr. Ellis. He didn't speak at first. He only watched her with careful, quiet eyes. Not afraid, not angry, just waiting. Then, in a calm voice, he said, "You know me." It wasn't a question, it was a truth. Veraya held her chest, her heart raced. "Yes," she whispered, "but I don't know how." She didn't remember meeting him before, and yet something inside her had recognized him. The way her body reacted, the visions she saw, the whisper in her bones. It was real. Outside the room, Dr. Rain and two senior Yulari scientists stared at the blood scans on the wall screen. "This isn't a normal immune reaction," Rain said. "Her blood is rebuilding itself." The other scientist leaned in. "Look at this strand, it's human, not Yulari. How did it activate?" Another replied, "Because of the human. Something in his touch woke it up." Rain looked toward the glass where Veraya sat awake. "She's not reacting to illness," he said. "She's reacting to herself." Back in the room, Ellis sat down in the chair beside her. "I've never seen anything like this," he said. "You touched my hand, and your body just changed." Veraya looked at her fingers. They glowed faintly, more than usual. "I feel stronger," she whispered. "But I also feel strange, as if something old just woke up." Suddenly, two guards entered. Their weapons were ready, though not raised. "Dr. Ellis," one of them said, "you must come. With us." Veraya stood quickly. "He didn't do anything wrong." The guard ignored her. "The council must question him, alone." Ellis looked at her, then nodded. "It's okay," he said gently. "I'll answer whatever they ask." As the door closed behind him, Veraya felt something cold settle in her chest. Not fear, but a strange sense of loss. In the council chamber, Ellis stood before 5 high-ranking Yulari. They were calm, silent, their eyes unreadable. "You are human," one said. "Your species has not touched ours in generations. Why now?" Ellis replied, "I didn't mean to. It was an accident. I handed her a scanner. Our hands touched. That's all." "And yet," another said, "she nearly died." "She didn't die," Ellis answered. "She evolved." The council fell silent. Dr. Rain entered the room and placed a data screen on the table. Her DNA contains human fragments, dormant, hidden, until now. The council stared at the data. "This is not natural," one said. "No Yulari carries human code," Rain corrected him. "She does." Back in the medical room, Veraya stared at her reflection in the mirror. Her eyes were glowing brighter now. Her fingertips pulsed softly like they carried energy. She whispered to herself, "What am I becoming?" Moments later, Ellis returned. He looked tired, but free. She ran to him, limping slightly. "What did they say?" "They want more answers," he said. "But they don't have any." Veraya looked up at him. "I saw something when I collapsed," she said. "Images, stars, cities I've never seen, people I've never known." She touched her chest. "And I felt you. Like you were already part of me." Ellis slowly pulled a small chain from his pocket. On it hung a broken tag. Old, silver, marked with a star and strange symbols. "I found this years ago in a Yulari ruin," he said. "No one could translate it." Veraya took it in her hands. The metal glowed in her touch. She whispered the words softly. "They're not symbols. They're a name." Ellis blinked. "Whose name?" She looked at him. "My mother's." The DNA sample shocked everyone. She wasn't fully alien. The lab was silent as Dr. Rain placed the DNA report on the large glass table. Every Yulari in the room leaned forward. No one spoke. Even the lights seemed dimmer, as if the truth didn't want to be seen, but it was there, on the screen, clear, human genes, inside a Yulari. This is not contamination, Rain said quietly. This strand matches human genome group 3C, which belongs to Earth-based research bloodlines. The others stared at him. But how? That's impossible. No Yulari has ever carried human blood, one scientist said. Rain shook his head. Until now. Meanwhile, in her recovery chamber, Virea sat on the edge of the bed, her hands glowing softly in the dim light. Across from her, Dr. Ellis leaned against the wall, still trying to understand everything. You said the tag had your mother's name? He asked. Virea nodded. I read it without thinking. The words came into my head like a memory. But I've never seen that tag before. Ellis stepped forward. Do you remember anything else? She looked down. When I was small, I was sick. Very sick. The healers said my blood was different, that I was born from something outside the tribe. They warned my mother to keep it quiet, so she did. Ellis sat beside her. That something might have been human. She turned to him, eyes wide. Does that mean I'm not Yulari? No, he said gently. It means you're more than Yulari. Back in the main council chamber, Rayan stood before the elders once more. She's not dangerous, he said. Her reaction wasn't an attack. Her body didn't fail. It woke up. The council leader looked worried. Human Yulari hybrid genes are forbidden. They were banned generations ago. Rayan replied, maybe that's why she was hidden, but now we can't deny what she is. In the following hours, Virea's condition changed again. Her hearing sharpened, her heartbeat slowed, then steadied stronger than ever, and when she passed by a lab terminal, the lights flickered. Machines responded to her, not through touch, but something inside her. Ellis watched it happen. You're affecting electronics. I don't mean to, she said. I think you don't have to mean it. Later, she sat in front of a glass screen showing 2 sets of DNA, one Yulari, one human. Both existed inside her. Both were complete. She wasn't broken. She was born to be this way. Virea turned to Ellis. What does this mean for me? He looked at her, voice low. It means the reason your body reacted to my touch is because something in your blood recognized me. Not me exactly, but my DNA. It woke up. Suddenly the door burst open. 2 security guards stepped in. The council requests her immediate isolation. Orders from the high table. Virea stood. I'm not sick. Ellis stepped forward. She's not a threat. But the guards moved. Closer. Rayan entered behind them holding a data chip. Wait, I have proof. He handed the chip to the lead guard. This data shows her condition isn't spreading. It's internal. Controlled. She's not unstable. She's evolving. The guard hesitated, then backed off. Rain turned to Virea. They don't know what to do with you, he said. But I do. She looked at him. What? You're not just different. You might be the future of both species. Ellis stood beside her, and for the first time, she didn't feel torn between 2 worlds. She felt like the bridge between them. The council wanted to erase her, but the human refused to leave. The council hall of the Yulari stood high on a black stone cliff. It was cold, quiet, and filled with voices that never shouted, but always decided. Today, those voices spoke of one. Name Virea. She is unstable, said one elder. She carries human blood, said another. Her presence threatens our traditions. She collapsed from 1 touch, said the third. Tomorrow will she explode from 2? In a locked side room, Virea waited. She heard none of their words, but she felt their judgment in the air. The guards would not look at her. The windows were darkened, and her arms were bound, not because she was dangerous, but because she was different. Downstairs, Dr. Ellis stood before the hall doors. A guard blocked him. You are not Yulari, the guard said coldly. You do not belong here. Ellis didn't move. I'm Not leaving without her. She will be judged. Then I want to speak before they decide. The guard shook his head. No humans allowed. Suddenly, Dr. Rain appeared behind them. His voice was calm, but sharp. Then make an exception. He's the only one who understands what she is. The guard hesitated, then stepped aside. Ellis entered the grand chamber as the elders turned toward him in silence. He spoke with steady words. You fear her because she's new, unknown. But you forget. So was fire once. The elders said nothing. He stepped forward. You think she's sick. I say she's awake. She is not a mistake. She's the missing link between two worlds that have been kept apart by fear. An elder stood. You are not one of us. Ellis nodded. No, but maybe she is both. The chamber went quiet. After a moment, one elder gave the final sentence. She will be erased. Quietly, her name removed. Her record sealed. No risk. No future. Ellis's hands clenched. No, he said. I won't let you. The guard stepped. But Varela had already broken free. The bonds on her arms glowed, and then melted into sparks. She walked into the chamber, calm, standing tall. I heard everything, she said. I know I scare you. She looked at each elder. But I will not hide. An energy pulse moved through the room. Lights flickered. Data. Screens blinked. She wasn't attacking, she was simply present, and the chamber felt it. Rayan stepped beside her. So what now? He asked the council. One elder said coldly, then she must leave. She cannot stay among us. Varela nodded once. Then I will go. As she turned to walk away, Ellis followed. Rayan called out, Where will you go? Varela smiled faintly. Somewhere that doesn't fear what I am. They walked through the great stone doors, a human and a half-Yalari girl, not as fugitives, but as freedom itself. She touched a machine, and it responded like it knew her. The old human research station sat deep in the jungle, hidden by time and moss. No one had used it in decades. The power was weak. The doors creaked, but Dr. Ellis remembered this place from old records. He and Varela needed a place to hide and search for answers. This station, long forgotten, might hold both. Inside, broken consoles lined the walls. Most didn't work, but in the center of the room stood a tall machine covered in dust and vines, a sealed system, human tech, built for something important, but no one knew what. Ellis tried to power it up. He pressed buttons. Nothing happened. The UR. Screen stayed black. It's dead, he muttered. Varela stepped forward, drawn by something she couldn't explain. I've seen this before, she whispered. Ellis looked at her. In dreams? She nodded. And then, she touched it. The machine lit up instantly. The vines around it shook and fell off. Panels opened with a soft hiss. A blue light scanned Varela's face and body. Then the screen displayed one line of ancient human code. DNA signature confirmed. Welcome, Project Echo. Ellis's mouth fell open. Project Echo? Varela stepped back. I don't understand. The screen continued. Hybrid marker. Active. Neural phase. Unlocked. Access level. Administrator. Ellis turned to her. Slowly. You're the key. This machine. It recognizes you. Varela stood still. She didn't know whether to feel afraid or proud. Something deep in her had responded to this tech. Not just physically, but emotionally, like a memory waking up. They explored the room further. Doors opened only when Varela touched. Them files downloaded when she spoke. She didn't know how she knew the words, but they came naturally. In a hidden chamber they found recordings. Human scientists, Yalari scientists, working together. Smiling. One video showed a woman with soft eyes and silver blue skin. She looked into the camera and said, If this works, she will be the first. Not a weapon, not a test, but a bridge between our worlds. Varela stepped forward. That's Her, she whispered. My mother. The truth hit them hard. Varela was not born by accident. She was part of a secret project, a peaceful one. Hidden when war broke out between humans and Yulari. Her mother had protected her. Her father might have been human. Ellis placed a hand on the screen. You're living proof that both species can live together. Varela turned to him. That's why the council fears me. He nodded. And that's why we can't let this stay hidden. Suddenly, the lights flickered. A warning appeared. Unauthorized signal detected, location breached. Varela's eyes widened. They're coming. Ellis grabbed the data core from the console. Then we take the truth with us. As they left the station, Varela looked back one last time. She was no longer just a girl with a strange reaction. She was Project Echo, and the machines had remembered her. They tried to kill her. Before the truth could spread, the data core glowed softly in Ellis's bag. Inside, it was the truth, Varela's origin, the hybrid project, and evidence that peace had once been possible between humans and Yulari. Now that truth could unite the stars, or get them both killed. They traveled on foot through dense jungle, heading for a comm station, one powerful enough to broadcast the data to both human and Yulari networks. Varela walked beside him, quiet but strong. She was different now, not just glowing skin or heightened senses. She moved with purpose. As they neared the old tower, they didn't notice the small blinking device attached under a vine. A tracker. Someone had followed them. They reached the comm station just before dusk. The door was rusted shut, but Varela touched it and it opened. Ellis smiled. I'll never get used to that. She didn't smile back. I feel something. Someone is watching. Inside, they began uploading the data. Old systems blinked to life. The machine hummed. Lines of code raced across the screen, and then a sharp click echoed behind them. A blast tore through the wall. Varela screamed as Ellis pulled her to the ground. A shadow entered through the smoke. Not a guard. Not a soldier. An assassin. He moved fast, blade in hand, no face, only a dark helmet. Varela stood, trying to shield Ellis. The assassin lunged. She dodged, but not fast enough. The blade cut across her arm. She fell. Ellis jumped in front of her. Assassin raised the blade again, but Varela's hand lit up with a pulse of raw energy. She reached toward the assassin and shouted, "Stop!" The lights exploded. A shockwave blasted outward. The assassin flew back into the wall, unmoving. The room went dark. Only Varela's hands glowed. She was breathing hard, eyes wide. Ellis crawled to her side. "You're bleeding." "I'm okay," she said. "But they know we have the truth." Ellis checked the upload. 8% complete. "We're almost there," he said. Then, silence. The signal stopped. "Transmission blocked," the screen said. Varela stood again, trembling. "I can fix it." She walked to the console, hands shaking, eyes glowing brighter. She pressed her hand to the panel and whispered something in a forgotten language. The screen blinked once, twice, then flashed green. Upload complete. Across the stars, servers lit up. Yulari. Historians, human scientists, even government leaders received the same file. A girl, a project, a forgotten chance at peace. The message was clear. You feared what could join us, but she is already here. Back in the room, Ellis leaned against the wall, breathing hard. Varela collapsed beside him. She was smiling, even through the pain. "They'll know now," she whispered. Ellis nodded. "You did it." And far above the planet, unknown ships received the signal. Some were alarmed, some were curious, but most were silent, because the truth had returned, and one hybrid girl had survived long enough to speak it. Once broken, now united, she stood before two worlds. The hall was filled with silence. Two banners hung side by side, one human, one Yulari. It had never happened before. For generations, both species stood apart, divided by war, mistrust, and fear. But today, They waited for her. The doors opened. Varela walked slowly down the path, dressed in a simple robe. Her arm was still bandaged from the assassin's blade. Her steps were steady. Beside her walked Dr. Ellis, the man who never left her side. High leaders sat before them, human generals, Yalari elders, ambassadors, historians, and silent watchers from distant colonies. They had all seen the broadcast. They all knew who she was. One Yalari elder stood. Your existence was hidden. A human. Counselor added, your life was almost erased. A pause. Why are you still here? Varela looked up. Not afraid, not angry, just calm. I'm here because I survived what you feared. She walked to the center of the room. I was made from both of you. I didn't choose that. But now I choose what to do with it. She turned toward the crowd. I was taught to be silent, to stay small. But now I understand. I was never a mistake. She looked at Ellis, then back to the leaders. I am not the end of two races. I am the beginning. Ellis stepped forward. Her DNA doesn't divide us. It connects us. It proves that we can share more than just land or sky. We can share future. He placed the data core on the table. Everything you need is in here. Proof that peace was once planned. Hidden. Forgotten. But not lost. The leader said nothing. But something had changed in the room. The silence was no longer fear. It was reflection. Outside the building, people from both worlds gathered, watching on large screens. Children stared. Mothers listened. Soldiers stood still. And when the announcement came, the world shifted. The council accepted Varela's truth. A new agreement was signed. A new path opened. Not because of power, not because of war, but because of one girl who dared to tell the truth, and one human who refused to walk away. Years later, statues would be built, books would be written, but for Varela, the real reward was smaller. It was waking up in peace. It was walking freely. It was being whole. She stood on a high platform, looking out over the stars. Ellis stepped beside her and smiled. What now? He asked. She took a deep breath. Now we build a world where no one has to hide. And with that, the girl once hidden became the voice of unity, a bridge between stars, a symbol of what happens when fear ends and understanding begins.